As well as the chieftain.
It was primarily an occasion for the public presentation of a book entitled Making Steady, Sustainable Progress for Nigeria's Peace and Prosperity, a midterm scorecard on President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. But the event also offered some prominent All Progressive Congress APC stakeholders an opportunity for expressing their thoughts on President Buhari's administration, character traits, and the passion that drives his commitment to nation building, and their individual assessment of the president's performance midway into his 4-year term of office. On May 29, 2015, at the swearing-in of President Buhari in Abuja, he announced the major tasks to be tackled by his administration.
We face enormous challenges: insecurity, pervasive corruption, the hitherto unending and seemingly impossible fuel and power shortages are the immediate concerns. We are going to tackle them head-on. Nigerians will not regret that they have entrusted national responsibility to us. We must not succumb to hopelessness and defeatism. We can fix our problems.
2 years down the road, Nigerians were beginning to ask questions. How much has the president achieved of the announced objectives of his administration? Nigerians are also asking about the promised change for the better that the All Progressives Congress APC and the president made during the electioneering campaigns preceding the March 2015 presidential election. What is to change? The book put together by the presidential media team of Femi Adesina, Garba Shehu and Laole Akonde tries to answer the questions.
We are offering a response to people who say that the Buhari administration has achieved nothing in 2 years. The only way you can convince people is put your facts on the table and let them see it. So if they want to argue with the facts, then it is for their own to do. This is beyond politics now. So that's why we took our time, compiled every detail of achievement that has been scored in the various departments of government, and here it is that we are presenting to the Nigerian public.
In the words of the book reviewer Prince Tony Momo, a former Minister of Information and Chairman of the University of Jos Governing Council, it is a facts book.
It is all about the first half of the first 4 years of the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, President Federal Republic of Nigeria. Because I am an interested party, and so on the same page with the team that worked on this compendium, I would like to salute them for an incredibly clean, well-researched, and carefully packaged book that chronicles the President Muhammadu Buhari's achievements in various sections. The acknowledgements tell the whole story of who did what in bringing out this huge book.
The Information and Culture Minister, Alhaji Lai Muhammad, believes President Buhari's administration is delivering in the broad areas that form the plank of its policies. And the key areas are security, the fight against corruption and the economy, which includes provision of massive infrastructure, ease of doing business, and agriculture, among other areas of service.
Angela Jessica, a London-based public affairs commentator, said in her contribution in the Vanguard newspaper of the 10th of November 2017, and I quote, these are her words: "Once upon a time, Abuja was always under attack by the Boko Haram insurgents. The United Nations House was bombed. The headquarters of the Nigerian police force was attacked. 2 bombs exploded at a crowded bus station in Nyaya. This day newspaper office was attacked, and much more. Residents of the nation's capital lived in fear. Some relocated. During that period, Nigeria inched towards anarchy. Nobody knew when the next bomb would detonate in Abuja. We lived in constant fear of the unknown. Let us learn to call a spade a spade. When last did any bomb detonate in Abuja? You might not like President Muhammadu Buhari's face, but you cannot deny that he has shown how nothing speaks louder than the bottom line. And the bottom line in this case is that there can be no meaningful development without adequate security, unquote.
The minister talks about increase in power generation and transmission under the Buhari administration.
Power. When this administration assumed office on 29th of May 2015, available power on the grid totaled 2,690 megawatts. Transmission capacity was about 5,000 megawatts, and distribution capacity was 4,000 megawatts. As of September 2017, the available power that can be put on the grid was 6,619 megawatts. The transmission capacity was stimulated at 6,700 megawatts, up from 5,000 megawatts in 2015. And the distribution capacity was 4,600 megawatts. You may wish to recall that on September 12, 2017, production of power reached an all-time level of 7,001 megawatts.
My work too, as a minister, is part of the successes, is part of the success story. Many other women, many men, everybody that is working in this administration has a take in this. But you see, it's a book of facts. It's a book of facts. Therefore, you see the facts and then go and verify if you want. We cannot present a book if the facts are not real and genuine. Therefore, I call on Nigerians, the books are free. The book, as you had inside, is free. People can take copies and go and read. And if you want any verification, you can easily go to any ministry because it's sector by sector achievement in the book. So if somebody is not comfortable or you want more clarification on the successes recorded in any of the sectors of the government, you can go to the ministry, go to the parastatal, call on phone if you want, get a copy and say, I saw this in the book, where is it and how? We have no fear of verification.
One of the leaders of the All Progressive Congress Party APC, Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu, delivered the keynote address at the occasion. He also unveiled the book.
The book is hereby unveiled.
Looking at the midterm performance of President Buhari, Asiwaju Tinubu commended the Buhari administration for decimating the menace of Boko Haram, which posed a grave danger to the territorial integrity of Nigeria at the time the APC took the seat of power in May 2015.
Before this government came to being, Boko Haram wreaked havoc on a daily basis, spreading its evil arm across great expanses of our national territory. Boko Haram invaded towns and villages, erasing the peace and normalcy of the people to replace it with wanton brutality, hatred, and death. They hoisted their dreadful flag where only the green and white of Nigeria should have been. Today, that evil flag is not planted over an inch of our precious land. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, men and women of the armed forces. This violent scourge recedes into the darkened shadow of inhumanity from whence it came. People once under its horrid dominion now breathe the air of freedom and safety. Boko Haram has not been completely defeated, but there is no question that it has been decimated and made shorter and weaker. They shall never constitute the threat they once were. This is no accident. It is the result of the policies and commitment of President Buhari, his government, and the men and women of our armed forces who place their lives on the line in silent heroism to protect this nation and its people. Had the previous government remained in place, Boko Haram would have surely eaten more territory and devoured more people. The nation might have indeed been divided and cut asunder, not by choice, but by the knife of terrorism. The prior government used the public treasury as a private hedge fund or a charity that limited is given only to themselves. In governance, they earned a red card, but in corruption, they won the gold medal. President Buhari has set an axe to the root of this dangerous tree. I would be lying if I said the war against large-scale corruption has been won. It has not. It will take several time and countless swing of the axe to fall such a deeply rooted tree. But try we must. This is what the president is doing.
Asiwaju Tinubu advised that Nigeria must begin to prepare for the post-oil economic era, as the economic value of oil is gradually being overtaken by the alternative power technology. He believes Nigeria needs to draw up a national industrial revolution plan. Such a plan, he said, must provide protection for local strategic industries in ways that allow for the expansion and growth of the overall economy.
The economy remains our biggest long-term challenge. Prior to government operated during times of plenty. The opposite is the case now. Sadly, that plenty was stolen or directed towards policies of no lasting consequence to the average Nigerian, save to compel them to say another opportunity has been wasted. Through no fault of its own, this administration had to grapple with a rapid fall in oil prices. With fewer resources at hand, this government is compelled to do more. It must respond to the immediate needs in a way that leads to long-term economic reform. This will be a complex journey, we know. This government has taken the first and the right steps in the right direction. Today, we are inching out of recession. The exchange rate has stabilized somewhat. Internationally, we are seen as on the mend and have been recognized for making significant progress in the ease of doing business. In hindsight, the election of President Buhari had an air of inevitability to it.
Despite the odds arrayed against him, the sovereign will of the people lifted him to victory. He is truly the right man for this time and place. This is why I'm pleased by the publication of this book with the just and the appropriate title, Making Steady, Sustainable Progress for Nigeria's Peace and Security.
Assessing development in Nigeria in the last 2 years under President Buhari's administration, Asiwaju Tinubu says that any person with a pressing hunger for truth must admit that change and progress has come.
We have seen the vision of the government, and we have been suffering this heavy investment we have, but it all just goes to abroad, mostly go to China. Even China cannot even produce the standard we do, if you can see the book. Yeah, because of the quality. So because of the vision, especially the executive order that the federal executive signed, that 40% of the procurement must be done locally, and we feel it's something that we should key in and support it, and that is what made me to do this book.
Chairman of the occasion, who is the chairman of the All Progressive Congress APC, Chief John Oyegu, says President Buhari's administration has optimally performed well, measured against the promises of the president and the APC to Nigerians during the electioneering campaigns.
Given the context of the well-known challenges that faced this government at the time it came into office, particularly referring back to the gross mismanagement of the economy and the sudden, unexpected collapse of the crude oil market, which events dramatically curtailed the possibility, the ability of the government to spend in the process of redeeming the battered economy. I was therefore very, very surprised. I have had the benefit of interactions with ministers, briefing sessions with ministers, but getting a copy of this book, the scorecard of President Muhammadu Buhari administration, making steady, sustainable progress for Nigeria's peace and prosperity, I found it quite spirit-lifting. I had the privilege of browsing through it very speedily, and there was no question at all, I can say, incontrovertibly, that it is a substantial moral booster for the party, the APC. And beyond that, I would be remiss, given my interaction with the ministers, the briefing sessions we have had with them, if one does not just say one or two things. First, the war against corruption. Yes, once in a while it may look tentative in terms of the achievements that are coming through. But what we miss, what is fundamental, what is important, and what is critical is that the fact of corruption, the discourse, the public discourse that goes on about corruption. Every day you open your papers, there's one very scathing, very negative thing or the other about corruption. Indicates one major achievement. And that is that Nigerians no longer accept corruption as an inevitable way of life in this nation. That is a major achievement. Secondly, I cannot but also mention the social intervention programs, which is at the heart of a caring government, whether it's the NPAR, whether it's the school feeding program, or the other aspects of this program.
The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Barrister Boss Mustafa, in his speech to welcome guests, described President Buhari as a man that cares and is conscious of the cultural mix of Nigerians. He recalls two experiences to support his view on President Buhari.
I remember during the campaign, as the Director of Contact and Mobilization, we went to Owerri and we went to see a bishop. And at the end of the visit, the bishop presented a gift to the president. And myself and Dr. Chris Ngigi, looking at the content of the gift, because it was a Bible, we jumped to collect it from Mr. President. And he politely refused to release that gift and held it with some element of affection and concern. And when we got onto the bus, he voluntarily and willingly released the Bible. And the lesson that brought to me was that this was a leader conscious of the fact that he was leading a multi-religious and a multicultural community, and that he was going to lead without any form of discrimination, either by reason of faith or gender. So, Mr. President, we thank you for that quality of leadership. The second experience I had was when we went as members of the Transition Committee to submit an interim report. And at that time, there was this agitation as to whether a decision had to be taken on how to deal with the oil industry. And looking at the situation, Mr. President point blankly told us that he was not elected to inflict more hardship on the people of Nigeria, but to bring circle. That again gave me one single message, that Mr. President is a leader that has deep compassion for the people of this country. And that is the kind of effective leadership he has brought to bear on the Nigerian nation in the last 2.5 years.
President Buhari, in his speech, thanked the media team for the efforts in recording events and putting together his administration's scorecard. Assuring Nigerians of a brighter future, he said,
"But first, I cannot thank Nigerians enough for your prayers and messages of goodwill during my health vacation. I can only repay you by resolving to work with every ounce of my energy to protect your interests. Thank you. We have gone through difficult times due to worldwide economic recession. We are coming out of recession, and government efforts are targeted at easing economic hardships with more jobs, social security platforms for vulnerable families and unemployed, and infrastructural projects. I would at the same time like to assure all Nigerians of my commitment to improve security, 2, fight corruption, and 3, restructuring the economy."
Those are the events included the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, some state governors, representative of the Speaker of the House of Representatives, ministers and heads of core departments and agencies, and top officials of the ruling All Progressive Congress, among others, who delivered goodwill messages.
Well, you see, the president sat through and he listened to all of the speeches. Some of the speeches were not merely to praise achievements of the government. There were exhortations, there were calls on government to do things in a better way. And so therefore, it's an opportunity for government to itself, look at herself in the mirror.
Like a self-assessment.
And then reassess and see what is it that we can do better. And by all means, we are always enriched by opinions of other people. So I believe that all of this coming together would further strengthen the resolve, the vision of the government to do better things for the Nigerian people.